We're holding deep in. We're going to learn a paragraph here in the Maimer HaTzelem of Volozhin, and he's going to then send us to another one of his Hagos on his own Haggah. And it's actually the seventh one, and it's the penultimate one. I think there's 8 altogether. So we're talking about Tzelem and Dmus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created man in his form and image, and what does that mean? And he quotes a Zohar. The Ayin Zohar, Lamed Aleph Beis Sha'or Nignaz L'Tzadikim. So the or Rashi says that on the first day of Ma'aseh Bereishis that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Bayaras Or Kitoiv Bayavdel Elokim Ben Or Leven Choshech. Hashem saw that the light was good and it was sort of too good for this world, so He put it into Geniza L'Tzadikim Lasid Lavo. And the Zohar is medayik that it was Nignaz L'Tzadikim Mesayim Sham V'hu Tamir L'Tzadikim L'Tzadikaya Daika. Dafka for the tzaddikim, for the righteous. So who are these righteous that are going to get the hidden light? Perish tzaddik b'kol makom hu b'maisa. So the people who are referred to as tzaddikim, it always refers to people who are righteous indeed, that their acts are righteous acts. And this is actually, in my opinion, one of the backbones of the Nefesh HaHaim, and also here the Maimer HaTzelem, that if I could be a little bit irreverent and say that the slogan of Nefesh HaHaim could be like the slogan of Nike, which is just do it, okay? And for the Nefesh HaHaim, that means just do the mitzvahs. And all the great kavanas will come as a result and schar of the mitzvah. But don't go to the mikvah and sit around twiddling your thumbs and putting on your gartel and your streimel and eating kugel until you're in the mood to do a mitzvah. That's like his answer, to Hasidic movement and to people who were not doing mitzvahs on time and so forth. His attitude is just do the mitzvahs, okay? Always do the right thing. Do it bedikduk, do it bezmano, follow the Shulchan Aruch to the T, and that will bring you to great kavanas and tikkunim and all the depth and all the height that the mitzvahs can bring, but focus on action. Okay, so this
that phrase.
Kol lefi rova ma'isa.
Right, the kavanah will come after you start taking the first step.
Exactly, take the first step, do what you're supposed to do, and the rest will come as a result of that. So he's bringing that idea here. That the Zohar says that the Ora Ganuz is for tzaddikim, and he says Perush Tzaddik b'kol makom is the people who do the right things, but Maisa. Ki dafka yidei Maisa mitzvahs, befoal, actually doing the mitzvahs, mamish, me'oirarim, or ha'elyon, haganuz b'toira. So it's not enough to think about it, it's not enough to want to do it, it's not enough to write a check. You got to do mitzvahs. And if you do mitzvahs, b'poil mamish, that will arouse this infinite light to open up and shine down upon you. V'sham heim hashrashim ila'in shebetzelem. And Rabbi Tzala is connecting that to, again, this idea of the Tzelem Elokim. And we've talked already at length about the oisio, so the word Tzelem, Tzadik Lamed Mem, which are 90, 30, and 40, and they have the spheres in them. Lezeh amru Chazal in Pirkei Avos, kol shemaisav merubim michochmaso, chochmaso miskayemes. So he brings a Mishnah from Avos, which emphasizes the primacy of deed. If your maisim are greater than your wisdom, then your wisdom will last. But if you're just philosophizing in wisdom, and you don't really live up to your great philosophy, your deeds are lacking, ein chochmaso miskayemes. So the ikar, ki ha'ikar hu lenatseach tchila, lachoif es yitzroi. You got to overcome the Yetzer Hara, lishtabe lemaiseh mitzvahs. Do the right thing. Af she'ein lo, adayin moichin delamid de Tzelem. Okay, so here he goes back into the upper realm and says, because if you do this, if you start by defeating the Yetzer Hara and forcing like your body to do the mitzvahs, okay, get out of bed, put on tefillin and your talis and say Kriyat Shema and do what you're supposed to do. So even though you don't have yet the moichin, you don't have the brains, you don't have like the neshama up in the lamed, but at least you're getting the tzaddik right. Okay, you're starting with the tzaddik of Tzelem. You're putting yourself into a position to grow into being this Superman of the Tzelem Elokim. Okay, so start with the tzaddik, tzaddikaya dafka, that is expressive of doing the right thing in action. Okay, and so now he has this gloss that we're going to learn now. Haga lefia mavur le'el, kemoshet Tzelem, humi almin stimin, udemus humi almin de izgalyan. So he's come back to this concept a couple of times, that we have this pair, Tzelem and Mus, that the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm creating man, B'Tzalmenu Kidmusenu. And Tzelem is the hidden worlds, and Mus is the revealed worlds. Like this is body and this is soul. Kacha hu chachmaso v'sichlo shel ha'adam. HaTzelem hasatum b'tocho lohoitzi dmus klei hamaise befoil mamish b'maise hamitzvahs. So of course, everything we do is a combination of our nervous system, our brain, right? Sending messages to our muscles to move our tendons and get our bones, doing stuff. So we have interface between our body and our mind, and our body is of course visible. You see me raising my hands, but you don't see the messages in my nerves or in my brains. So there's stuff going on hidden in my mind that becomes expressed and outwardly visible in my body. So that has to do with Tzelem and Mus. So we're using the Chachma and the Seichel, which is up in the Tzelem, which is hidden. And we are getting that to bring things from potential into reality, into the Dmus, Lahoitzi Dmus, Kliya Maise Befoil, Mamish, B'maise mitzvahs, doing good things, doing the mitzvahs. And that corresponds to the creation of the world. Kemoshe betchilas brias ha'olam, Dmut Kliya Maise b'mitzvahs, she'ala b'machshava tchila. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, before he was creating the world, he was thinking about it, and he had a plan for mitzvahs even before the world was created. Oirira lahamtzi klei HaTzelem. So that's what brought Hashem to create man in this image. Kain gam ata. So too today, Maiseh mitzvahs she'adam mikayim b'foil mamish ma'oirer lahamshich alav HaTzelem mishrashin kadmaim. So too now, let's see this again, that just as at the start of creation of the world, the dmus of the instruments of action are the mitzvahs, them being what came to mind first, the arousal to actualize the instruments of the Tzelem, so too today, the performance of the mitzvahs that a person actually accomplishes physically create the arousal to draw upon himself the Tzelem mishrashim kadmoim, from its highest roots. So there is Tzelem and Dmut, and there's interplay. Things sort of start in the Tzelem, they come to the Dmut, but then they sort of reverberate, and one reflects on the other and reveals the other. So I believe that it goes in two directions, which is called Or Yashar and Or Choser. There's light and reflected light. Velezot bebriata Adam, and therefore in the creation of man, in Bereshis 1, Ksiv Nase Adam B'Tzalmeinu Kidmusenu. It starts with our image and our form. The Adam beholido es shet, and then when Adam fathered his son after Cain and after Havel, he had shet. and Shet Ksiva Yoiled Bidmuso Kitsalmo. Oh boy, that's tricky. Let's take a look at that pasuk. Because this is it's sort of contradictory in a sense. It's the juxtaposition is that when God created man, he said, Kitsalmenu kidmusenu. The Tzelem preceded the Dmut. And here, Vayechi Adam Shloshim Uma'as Shana Vayoiled Bidmusoi Kitsalmoi Vayikra Es Shmoi Sheis. When Adam had lived 130 years, he begot a son in his likeness after his image. So I won't get caught up in the translation of likeness and image, but we have these two important terms, Dmut and Tzelem. But here, it's first the Dmut and then the Tzelem, and he calls him Shet.
This is a little off track, but
go ahead.
Is there any significance to the fact that Shet comes after? He comes later, right after the others. Any significance to the fact that it's actually the last two letters of the alphabet?
Okay, nice observation.
And then you look at Abraham, he was the
Aleph
of the nation. He's Aleph Bet. He's at the other end.
So, first let's talk a little bit about the meaning of the name. In English, Seth. I have a nephew Seth, and Seth is like, I don't know.
That's my Bechor in English.
Seth. Okay, nice. In Hebrew, there's a lot of meaning to this Shet. It has to do with tashtit, right? And the Even Hashtiyah is the foundation stone. So it has to do with the idea of foundation and fundamental and something really basic. And you're right. I think I like what you said about Av and Shet in Atbash. Right? We say Soif Maisa b'machshava tchila. So the beginning, the Sefer Yetzirah says the beginning is planted in the end, and the end is planted in the beginning. So Av and Shet go together. Shet, the last two letters of the Aleph base are connected to the first two letters. So I think that's a beautiful idea, and I think that's true. Here we're looking at Adam's begetting his son, Bidmuso Kitsalmo, and we are contrasting that to God creating man, sort of the opposite, Bitsalmo Kidmuso. And that's sort of understandable because if God is, starting from nothing, bara, to create something is yesh mi ayin. So if God is going to create man, okay, he took him mina afar, yipach ba'afbab, and so forth, but he starts with a concept. So I think I have I have an idea here. God is creating man from a concept. So first will come the concept, the Tzelem, and then will come the form, our body and who we are. When Adam is creating his son, that's a physical act. He's reproducing in the regular way with his wife. And so first will come the body, and then will come the stature, the structure, the Tzelem. So I think I can justify in a certain level that Hashem created man, Kitsalmo Bidmuso, and Adam created Shet, Bidmuso Kitsalmo. Okay? Let's see if we get more of that from here.
That's your take on it?
Yes, that's my interpretation.
Nice, okay.
Mezot bebrias Adam ksiv nasa Adam b'tzalmeinu kidmusenu, ve'Adam beholido et Shet ksiv ve'yoled bidmuso kitsalmo. Shebe'et briat Adam bara HaKadosh Baruch Hu koichos hashroshim shehem HaTzelem sheyuchal ha'adam lif'ol maseh mitzvahs k'dichsiv la'avda u'l'shamra. When God was creating man, he created these supernal forces, koichos hashroshim, these roots on high, which are the Tzelem, which ultimately lead to doing mitzvahs, maaseh mitzvahs, the active mitzvahs, as it says that God put Adam in the Garden of Eden, la'avda u'l'shamra. We'll look at that. Pasuk vayikach Adonai Elohim es ha'adam vayanicheu v'gan Eden la'avda u'l'shamra. The eternal God settled the human in the Garden of Eden to till it and tend it. Okay, so by translating to till and tend, those are both sort of positive things you do to it. You till and tend, maybe tend, but really, l'shamra should be to guard it. Okay, so the first one, la'avda, is positive action, and l'shamra is negative. It's to make sure nothing bad happens to it. It's to guard it against, insects or pests or anything bad that could happen to the garden. So Chazal darshan these words, la'avda u'l'shamra, as mitzvahs aseh and mitzvahs lo yisaseh. Whenever the Torah says, he shomer pen lo, whenever it uses the word shmira, shamor is yom HaShabbos l'kadsho, shmira is lo saseis. So there's a really strong basis to interpret this, that God took man and put him in the Garden of Eden to do positive things and avoid negative things, to do mitzvahs aseh and to avoid mitzvahs lo saseh, isurim, etc. So that's the avdo l'shamra. And Rabitzla is connecting that to the Tzelem, that Hashem has created koichos hashroshim shehem HaTzelem, that man can use them in Maisa mitzvahs, kediksiv la'avdo l'shamra, v'darshu chazal, zu mitzvahs aseh, u'mitzvahs lo saseh. Aval ha'bechira hi biyado, haya biyado. Man has the choice. V'ayadayin hadmus. So we have the Tzelem, la'avda or l'shamra, and we don't yet have the dmus. Hadmus b'koyach v'lo b'po'al. So Hashem, in creating man, first gave him a blueprint, a set of, mitzvahs, aseh v'lo saseh, but he hasn't yet given him the dmus. The demus is only bekoyach v'lo b'foyal. It is only in potential and not yet active. Lezot ksiv nasa adam b'tzalmeinu kidmusenu. B'tzalmeinu kidmusenu. Why the chaf? B'chaf hadimyoin. Per our demut, using the kaf of similarity. In the letter chaf, where the chirik is at the beginning of the word, it adds a sense of the word of how is like something else. It's comparative. So it's kidmusenu, b'chaf hadimyon. V'lekach ziv achar kach, v'ivra Elokim es ha'adam b'tzalmo, b'tzelem Elokim bara oiso, v'lo nizkar demut.
This lines up with the, the scientific concepts of what they call potential energy and kinetic energy.
Go ahead.
Potential energy is like stored energy, like a spring that hasn't, that hasn't kvitzt yet.
Yes.
And when it does, then it becomes kinetic. It becomes active. So the language here that you were using, or he's using, is what was it? Shema.
God started la'avda l'shamra. It starts with potential energy and then turns
potential,
to kinetic.
Right, and then it goes to the active, the kinetic. It's exactly what you have in science.
So he's pointing out here that in pasuk 26, you have both. You have the chafadimyon, but the next pasuk describes it. Vayivra Elokim es ha'adam b'tzalmo. B'tzelem Elokim bara oto, zachar nekeva bara otam. This pasuk doesn't have the demus, so it's significant. Again, it's hard to learn these psukim and make these diukim for us, but we can follow him, and we can definitely see that this pasuk has both the tzelem and the demus, and this one has b'tzalmo b'tzelem Elokim. So he's really justifying that. Again, let's go through that again. And that's why when he first creates man, it says, Nasa Adam B'Tzalmeinu Kidmusenu. And that's what we saw with Shais. Aval B'chira Habiyado. V'lezot Ksiv Nasa Adam B'Tzalmeinu Kidmusenu B'Chaf HaDimyon. And then afterwards, the next pasuk, Vayivra Elokim es Adam b'tzalmo b'tzelem Elokim barauto v'lo nizkar dmut. Lo nizkar dmut. Let's see. Okay. Because the demut is only going to happen when he comes out befoal, when he makes it kinetic. V'gabe Adam be'olido et shet v'yivaled b'dmuso kitzalmo hizkir HaTzelem b'chaf HaDimyon. Here, the chaf HaDimyon is on the Tzelem. She'achar husar HaTzelem imenu v'nismoyet rak al mea ama kenal be'agah. So Adam had already been shrunk from being as tall as the heavens to only being 100 amas tall. Lo nishar rak hadmut, ubedmut peulato oirer lahamshich tzelem. So we're now working sort of from the bottom up as opposed to top down. That's the simplest way to say it. God was working top down, so he was doing tzelem kidmut. But Adam is starting bottom up. He's creating a kid in the regular way. So he starts with the demus that he should someday reach his potential of the tzelem. Gam shetaya yachol al yedei demut prate maisav letoiva lahashlim tzalmo al pi bechirasoi v'kabalasoi malchus shamayim. So Shet, if he'll live up to his potential and make really good choices, he will be able to achieve the tzelem, but it won't come without hard work. The Kabbalah's Ol Malchut Shamayim b'Maiseh hu Iker Nekuda Hapnimis shegarma lo kavayachol litzamtzem brias kol ha'olamois sheyuchal hibarois ha'adam be'olam asiyah. He associates it primarily with Kabbalah's Ol Malchut Shamayim, Kriyat Shema, Ekei Nemer Bezoar, Al Midas Malchuso Yisbarach Shmo, She Shlimo, they call Sifarin Mishalemet Tet Bechinois, V'ze Eser V'lo Teisha, K'muvur Be'etz HaChaim, She'ikr Midas Malchuso Yisbarach Shmo, She'tiyah, Nigdelis Yos Balas Eser B'Bechinas Partzuf. Okay, that's difficult. 1 second. Okay, the Kabbalah's Malchus Merman of the Chinos. The Ze'eser V'lo Teishas from Sefer Yitzir. V'kemuvur be'etz chaim she'ikar midas Malchus Yisbarach Shmo she'tiyah nigdelis liyos balas eser b'bechinas partzuf ad kan. Wow. This relates to the process of tikkun rectification. Malchus starts off as a nekuda and grows until it finally achieves rectification with a full complement of 10 sfirot. He ends, and it's quite abstruse. Let's give it a little bit of attention. What does he say here? Kabbalah's Ol Malchut Shamayim. So when we say Kriyat Shema, that man would be able to be created in the world Asiyah, and this is stated in the Zohar, that it's complete in all the spheres. There's a completion of 9 aspects, 10 and not 9, as it's explained in Eitz Chaim. The key aspect of the characteristics of Malchus is that Malchus will be a complete partzuf, has 10 component aspects. Until it has 10, it is not complete in the context of becoming a partzuf. This ends the explanation. So we're talking about how mankind, through the Maisa Mitzvahs, complete our persona as the Tzelem and the Demut of Elokim. And so what my interpretation of this last piece, he's talking about which mitzvah, right? We said la'avda l'shamra, mitzvahs aseh and mitzvahs lo saseh. But if we had to boil all the mitzvahs down, first of all, with mitzvahs aseh, mitzvahs lo saseh, we say anoichi is like mitzvahs aseh and lo yelecha is like mitzvahs lo saseh. But if I had to boil it all down to one, I would say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, which is the declaration of the oneness of God. And so the Kabbalah's Ol Malchut Shamayim, the declaration of our belief in there's one God and nothing else. So that is the completion of the Tzelem and the Demus. all mitzvahs are important, like tefillin and tzitzis and achilas matzah and putting a mezuzah, all those are important. But the mitzvah of Kabbalah's Malchut Shamayim b'maisa, hu ikar nekuda pnimis, that causes, okay, it enabled Tzimtzum Brias Kol Oilamo is fine, but Kein Nemer b'Zohar, that midas Malchuso Yizbarach, okay, the midah of Malchus, majesty, kingdom, that God's kingdom contains everything else. Okay, the midah of Malchus is it's the last of the spheros, it's the 10th, and it contains everything above it. And so, she'ihi shlimu to call sephira and meshalemis teisha bechinois, and that's what it means that there's 10 and not 9, that the 10th one contains everything above it. And like it says in HaTzelem, Ikar midas malchuso yisbarach shetia nigdelis lios balas eser bechinas partzuf. So I'm concluding my understanding that God created us in his image, top down, with the concept, and gave us the opportunity to do mitzvahs, to make choices, and to put our body to work, to fulfill his will, and to reflect the great light that he constricted and then put down into us, into this world. We can reflect God's light and do his will by doing the mitzvahs. And when a person says Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and sanctifies God's name, and in this unification, there's only Ein Od Milvado, there's nothing but God. So we're taking everything that exists in his majesty, his malchus, his kingdom, and it's all there to serve him l'chvoido, and Ein Od Milvado, there's nothing but that. And that completes sort of the human structure. That is the Tzelem and the Demut. We're created in the image and the form of God. And we're taking everything in our world and we're proclaiming that it's all expressive of the oneness of God. So if we can reach that high level of emunah and unification, of appreciating the absolute oneness of everything that God created through his great light, and he created us in his image, and he created from the top down, and we're proclaiming it from the bottom up. We're proclaiming it from deep down in this world, and we even cover our eyes when we say Shema Yisrael. I'm not looking at it. I'm observing this world, and despite maybe some appearances which are deceptive and make it look like there are many powers, it is my mental faculties through the Tzelem, the world that's hidden. I know that Ein Od Milvado, there's nothing but God, and he is omnipotent, and he is omnipresent, and he is the boss in everything from above to below. So the completion of man's Tzelem Elokim and his Dmus is when we proclaim the oneness of God, and that sort of completes man of this fulfillment of La'avda and L'Shamra, of doing the mitzvahs, the positive commandments, and the negative. Okay, gentlemen, thanks for being here with me and learning.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Laila Tov.
Take care. Good night.
Laila Tov.